up, Met fans? Welcome back. Talkin Mets and Rob. How's everybody doing? Before I get started talking about why everyone should be fired and possibly all already fired, don't forget, guys, if you enjoyed this video, hit on that like button. If you enjoy my content, want to see more, want to get notified when I post my videos and when I go live, hit on that subscribe button, everybody. So, why do I think Alderson, Rojas, and Scott all should be fired no matter what outcome the rest of the season has? And that means winning the division, winning the wild card, making the playoffs, even being successful in the playoffs. If the Mets somehow win a series or two, make it to the World Series, and shockingly win the World Series, why I think every one of these guys should be fired, there's many reasons, and we can start with enemy number one, and that is Sandy Alderson. Why is Sandy Alderson should be fired? Well, not only did he hire Jared Porter, who was a sexual deviant, who was a disgusting human being, and harassed a poor female reporter, but he also hired Zack Scott, who was an assistant GM under Porter at the time, who was pushed up because of the Porter firing. Zack Scott with the DUI. So not only did Sandy Alderson hire Jared Porter and not do his due diligence about his background, but he also did not do his due diligence when it came to Zack Scott. Because I can tell you this right now, this is not the first time Zack Scott has been driving under the influence or a DWI or DUI. He just got caught this time. So the background that Sandy Alderson and his team clearly did not do a good job of is one reason why Sandy Alderson should be fired. The other reasons is player acquisitions. Sandy Alderson has this mindset of waiting back, lack of aggressiveness, let everything fall into place, and then he acts. That's a huge problem, especially with the deep pockets of Steve Cohen. He is not under the Wilpons anymore. I don't know if he has that mindset or not, but he has to be better, and he has not. During the offseason, he talked about it on every interview he did, that J.D. Davis wasn't a third baseman, saying that we're not so sure that Nimmo can be our center fielder. On and on and on, Sandy Alderson said exactly what this Mets team needed: a third baseman, a center fielder, and pitching. That's what he set out to do, right? That was his intention. The whole offseason, that's what his intention was. Guess what, guys? Who was available in the offseason that the Mets could have clearly needed and clearly could have got? JT Realmuto, who was a catcher, what the Mets needed, not a James McCann that you're wasting $40 million on, and George Springer. Yes, you can fight the fact that he's been injured, but he has better numbers with less games than almost every Met on the roster. That's a huge problem. And not only did Sandy Alderson not get any of those guys, he went all in on Trevor Bauer in the offseason. If that doesn't tell you about the lack of background check and information that he can pull with his team about players and their background, that's a huge problem. And that also goes to the Dodgers as well. But with Sandy Alderson, the lack of backgrounds, checking about information about people and individuals around the league, he did not do his due diligence. That's a huge problem. When it comes back to the offseason, you see Sandy Alderson again not want to give the one extra year and $20 million to get George Springer, who at the moment nobody really thought that Nimmo was going to be the center fielder that he turned out to be. Now maybe that was a blessing in disguise. But during the offseason, Nimmo couldn't stay healthy. His defense in the outfield wasn't that great. And offensively, he was an on-base walking machine, but wasn't the greatest hitter. Obviously, things have changed with Nimmo this year because of his offensive and defensive prowess that he's shown that he's grown into, which is nice to see. But during the offseason, Sandy Alderson didn't want to spend the extra $20 million. For whatever his reasoning was, he did not pull the trigger on George Springer. When it comes to JT Realmuto over James McCann, it is 100% obvious that JT Realmuto is way better than James McCann. Not only did Alderson gave James McCann 4 years, $40 million to a catcher who has never started in the majors for any team. If everybody understands and pays attention, James McCann was a backup in the White Sox to Yasmani Grandal. The only reason why James McCann started a lot of games was because Grandal was hurt. And in the shortened season, with the 60-game season, he played a lot because of the injury. So James McCann did not start a lot of games. And they took his stats from a 60-game season and projected it to be exactly what he did in 60 games. That's not a way to run a baseball team. That is not how you play. You acquire players that you expect and project to be better than what they are. James McCann is a terrible catcher. You've seen it lately. He has problems controlling the strike zone. His framing is terrible. Yes, he has a good arm. That's basically all he does well. How many balls have gone past him this year? Offensively, he's absolutely terrible. But yet, everybody, and there was a lot of people who were like, oh, that's a great move. You know, we need the defensive catcher behind it. You could got a catcher for $10 million or $5 million who's a really good to great defensive catcher. You didn't need James McCann for $40 million who is okay defensive catcher and an okay hitter. That was another mistake that Sandy Alderson made. Now, when it came to the trade deadline, once again, Alderson knew what we needed. We needed a third baseman, and we needed a little bit more pitching. So what did he come up with? Let me get another shortstop because my back is against the wall. The owner is coming down my throat. Fans are giving me pressure. So let me go get Javi Baez, another shortstop who we did not need. Even though Baez has been very good for us, but Javier Baez was not needed on his team. The need on this team was a third baseman, Chris Bryant. And then there was rumors that came out that the Cubs were willing to give Bryant and Baez for Pete Crow Armstrong and a lower level minor leaguer. Why didn't Alderson make that move? If you were probably going to get Baez and that was the idea, and you were able to get Bryant in that deal as well, why didn't Alderson get that deal? You know what his reasoning was? They were not sure about the injury status of Jacob deGrom. Excuse me, what? That makes no sense. You go get out and you make any attempt to make this team better. It should give you more reason why you have to make more moves at the deadline if DeGrom injury status is unknown or it's still up in the air if he's going to come back. You make more moves. That was another problem with Alderson and a reason why he should be fired. Now we're going to get to Zack Scott. This is going to be very quick. He has a DUI. It's probably not the first time he was driving drunk. He just got caught this time. Now, obviously, the team has to do an investigation. Fine. That's understandable. But he should not be in this organization as soon as this investigation is over. Zack Scott should be gone. And I do like Zack Scott. I felt like he was going to be a good addition to this organization. But you can't have somebody who has a moral compass of a 2-year-old and act like drunk driving is okay and you just give him the job and like nothing ever happened. Zack Scott should be fired along with Sandy Alderson. Those two should be gone. Now when we come to our, favorite manager, Luis Rojas, the in-game decisions that Luis Rojas makes, and this is not based on analytics, this is not based on the paperwork he reads to say what to do. There are certain times within a game that a manager has 100% control over. Luis Rojas has failed this Mets team over and over and over again. We can go through it. The lack of understanding when to take a starter out. The lack of putting in a bullpen guy that shouldn't be in. And then I've noticed in LA when he had the opportunity to pinch hit JD Davis, knowing that there was going to be a left-hander in the bullpen with a struggling pitcher on the mound, he decided to pinch hit Jeff McNeil, which helped Dave Roberts make an easy decision to put in a left-hander out of the bullpen when they had a struggling guy on the mound. Little things like that Luis Rojas does that his in-game decision is very weak. And that's not the type of manager that you want on a team that you expect to make the playoffs. Because let's be honest, what we heard from the Mets organization, this team is a playoff team. This team can be a 88 to 90 win team. Clearly, this team is not going to be 88 to 90 wins this year. Luis Rojas' in-game decision is abominable. Sandy Alderson's lack of player acquisitions when the team needs players to help this team in the offseason and at the trade deadline, he failed this team. Zack Scott failed this team by acting like a child and not being an adult, realizing that you shouldn't be drinking and driving. All of these guys should be wiped off the board. Clean slate, clean house. Everybody should be gone from this New York Mets organization. Everybody should be gone. No matter what. Nobody in this front office, in this dugout, has done a good job in this Mets organization. When you don't do a good job, you don't get rewarded. You get fired. Rojas, Alderson, Scott all need to get fired. It does not matter the outcome of this season. If the Mets make the playoffs, great. If the Mets make a nice run in the playoffs, great. If the Mets make the World Series, great. If the Mets somehow miraculously win the World Series, great. But that not give excuses to keep Scott, Alderson, and Rojas. They all need to be fired. I want to thank you guys for watching. Don't forget, guys, if you enjoyed this video, hit on that like button if you enjoy my content. Want to see more, want to get notified when I post my videos and when I go live, hit on that subscribe button, everybody. In the comment, guys, let me know what you think. Everybody should be fired. One of them, two of them should be fired. Let me know in the comments your opinions, what you think, guys, in the comments. Thank you for watching, Mets fans, and as always, let's go Mets.